Good morning, Auburn family and E2C Network family. This is another edition of E2C Network Live where we get together, we sit down and we talk about something that's important in the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Appreciate you hanging out with us, spending some time with us here at E2C Network. On today's live stream, another early morning, good morning Auburn live stream, we're going to be discussing this topic in very short format today. Yet again, 3 days in a row, 48 hours and change, let's call it. Auburn maximizes its efforts in the transfer portal. It was all defense on Saturday to Sunday. It was all offense on Monday. A wide receiver and a running back are added to what is becoming a more intriguing roster by the day, and not a moment too soon after our rivals continue to have great success in their own right. We're not going to lament on that or talk about that today. We're going to be talking about what's most important to us, these guys, the future of Auburn football. As we do that, do me a favor as you're coming into this live stream. The first thing we want to do is use this as our check-in period, post where you're watching from. City, state, international, all that good stuff. Post that right now in the chat where you're watching from. And right now, all together, let's hit that like button together. Just smash it right now together. It does help people know that we are live. It helps them know to come check out the show, all that kind of stuff. And be sure to stay tuned towards the end of the show as we give you updated schedule stuff, things to keep in mind. And then we'll take, some more comments and questions at the end if you guys have any. But to start off, let me just start off by saying hello to everybody. We got Monterio, Drip Edits, James, still reading Drip Edits again. Neil, I'm not bringing your comment up because we're not going to talk about that today. But War Eagle to you, Sarah. Good to see you. But yeah, so we're going to focus not so much on the increased success of our rivals, but our success will hopefully translate to some of that on the field today. So how are we going to do this? Most of you that watch our channel know that we do our commit alert videos. What does it mean videos? Every time we get a commit or transfer, with the nature of these coming in just bulk all at once, when it makes sense, we're going to do these together. So for those of you that like those individual, Neil's messing with me. For those of you that like those individual videos, I know that it sucks to have them combined, but it just, for time effectiveness, it just works better this way. But you're going to get the same content here. We're going to walk through each of those notes, a list that I take for each of those, just not so much in an edited video format. And then I'll take any comments or questions that you guys have along the way. So drop those in as you're watching. So your two guys, a wide receiver and a running back. We're going to start with a wide receiver because he's the one that came in first. Nick Mardner. Now, if I remember correctly, there was a Nick Gardner who was, I know it was Gardner, I think it was Nick too, that was a cornerback at Cincinnati that beat out like Roger McCreary for the best cornerback or something like that. I think that's what it was. Or no, it was Sauce Gardner. That was his name. I forgot it was a weird name like that. But when I saw the name come across and Cincinnati, Mardner, I was like, what the? I thought that guy left. So it confused me just a little bit. Nick the Gardner. Yeah. Thank you, Neil. It's a pleasant change from the Auburn lost another football game and players are leaving vids. Look, what does they say? The news, sex, death, and blood sells, and it's kind of the same concept here, even with Auburn stuff. So I try to give you guys a good mix of what to be positive about, things to be excited about, but reality too. We've not shied away from some of the sad things too. You can't ignore both of the things, right? All right, well, let's dive into these things. The good things about all of this, we're going to start, like I said, with Nick Mardner, a wide receiver. So there's a lot of cool things that we can discuss with him. Obviously, a transfer from Cincinnati on Monday the 9th. He became the 8th transfer of the cycle and has one final year of eligibility to use here at Auburn. I believe I did all this math correctly on my note taking. So if anybody has any disagreements with me on that, please do let me know. But I believe that is actually correct. Timeline for how this all went down with him. It's a very interesting timeline because this is one of those guys that has maximized his efforts in the transfer portal. Signed with Hawaii on December 17th. 2017. Enrolled at Hawaii on August 2018. Transfer portal entered for them on December 24th, Christmas Eve, 2021. Enrolled at Cincinnati. Excuse me. Enrolled at Cincinnati on January 11th. And then in the transfer portal again this year, December 7th, spent the month of December, literally 1 month there before taking a weekend visit, and loved his visit at Auburn. And he is now an Auburn Tiger for that final year of eligibility. This is one of the storylines I always love to bring up. And I know a ton of you big recruiting gurus roll your eyes at me every time I do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. This is why stars do not matter when they come in. Let me rephrase that. I always kind of misspeak. They matter somewhat, but they don't matter to the extent that when people, their first comment on a video is, how many stars is he? I almost delete your comment just because that's stupid and that's ignorant. This guy started as a 2 to 3 star prospect. He's still probably a 3-star. I don't think they've actually graded him yet in the transfer portal from what I've seen, but we'll just call him a 3-star prospect. But in terms of stats and size, measurables, and hype that he has coming to Auburn, it's a big thing for him. He's from, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Mississauga. It's like Mississippi with Auga at the end. Ontario, Canada. Did that sink in, folks? Auburn just pulled someone from Canada. Went to Clarkson Secondary School. His measurables, if that wasn't cool enough, let's talk about his measurables. 6'6", 215 pounds. Obviously projected a wide receiver. Now, why do I add the obvious there? When you hear 6'6", 215 pounds, maybe if he was a little bit thick, weight on him, you would think tight end. 6'6", that's when we start thinking tight end. But this is just a long, lanky, athletic guy who's got a wide wingspan that is going to be a nice little weapon for 1 year at Auburn, which is always good to have. Cool storylines around him. He is a former player of Marcus Davis. For those of you that don't know, we've done a video about him. And I should have said this earlier. We've done the video already about the other transfers you should go check out too. Marcus Davis is our wide receiver coach now, was once at Hawaii, and he was there during the same time as Nick Mardner. So to have them reconnect, you got to think that really helped in this process. We've really seen a bunch of these new coaches, them have really quick dividends with past relationships. Wesley McGriff and CJ Johnson, excuse me, Tyler Scott and CJ Johnson, I guess, would be one of those. And it's always huge when you bring these guys in, not just to lead a part of your program, but that they can bring things over them very, very quickly. He's the first of the 2 on the day of the transfer portal, but also the 4th of the 5 within that basically 48 hours that they all started coming in. It was probably more like, I don't know, somebody do math, 60 hours, but we'll call it these last 2 days, essentially. Real quick stats for you for 2022 at Cincinnati. 12 receptions for 12. That would be horrible. 12 games played, 19 receptions. No, that's not that much better. Yards, 218. He had 3 touchdowns. He had a long of 35. And my little stat sheet's off here a little bit, but you can kind of get the idea. He's a contributor. He's a big factor. His career stats would be 81 total passes for just under 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns in his career. So when you look at his career as a whole, you're not going to sit there and compare him to the best of the best statistically, but what he provides measurable wise for Auburn is what's going to be the biggest thing for Auburn and what he could potentially do for us. Auburn, man, good to see you. Thanks for checking in. So if you guys have general thoughts on Nick Mardner, continue to post them here. We've got to talk about now what it means for Auburn and him with his commitment, because that obviously when you get a new commitment and signing, and he is signed, that was confirmed by Auburn, it kind of moves other things into motion. So what it means at the time of his commitment, it was the 29th commit, and probably, I guess it would have been the 28th signing at that time. Yeah, 28th signing at that time. It would be the 11th at the time on offense and the second wide receiver in this class. Now, this class was a much bigger wide receiver wise when we got started back in the Brian Harsin days. Not that it needed to be necessarily, but we've had some other names there too. What is his future? What is his opportunities to play early, often start when you bring in a transfer of this experience, of this prospect size, caliber, measurables? Obviously, they're coming to play significant time. Does that mean starter? I don't know. Because here's the thing. Look at the depth chart. You got Coy Moore, Javaris Johnson, Camden Brown. Those are probably the three, at least fan speculative names that are going to lead the way for your X, Y, and Z receivers, or however you like to do that. And you've also got other names still here that are going to be fighting for that as well. Will they move Landon King back to tight end? Malcolm Johnson's been in the mix there too. So really right now he comes in being a solid experience piece that can be a humongous target for whoever's at the quarterback position for Auburn this next year. So expect him to play. The question, the jury is still out. Basically what we've been talking about for the room as a whole, who wants to be the leader of the room statistically, emotionally, otherwise, who wants to be the leader of this room? Anybody can get it at this point. Maybe Nick Mardner will do that. We usually talk about battleground stuff, regional stuff, where they're coming from. And not that we want to ever, well, I mean, I would love a pipeline into Canada if there's tons of talent up there. But I mean, he has literally been everywhere from Canada all the way down to Hawaii, back up to Cincinnati and down to Auburn. It's just interesting to think about the connections he could have, but I don't know that that's going to really have effect on us in our recruiting game. And the wide receiver class makeup. DeQuavius Sorey is your only other wide receiver signed on the docket. So this probably pushed DeQuavius Sorey, in my humble opinion, to a red shirt type of situation with everybody that we have left, with him on top of it. Who knows? He'll get in there, and we've seen players come in as freshmen and say, nope, I deserve playing time, and show it and prove it. So we'll see what happens. But that's kind of what it means for him, others, and for Auburn football. So if you have other opinions about him, drop those in there. For me, the big thing about Nick Mardner is that he will provide, as I've already said, an opportunity to have a big target to throw to for somebody out there. Not that we don't already have big targets here. I mean, Landon King would be one of those as well, and really good targets. But he presents a challenge and a problem for people in their schemes on defense. Even if he's not your go-to wide receiver, you cannot leave this guy alone with his length, with his athleticism, with his wingspan. If you leave him open on the sideline down there, he's going to be able to just reach out with them big old bear claws and grab one and keep moving on those little out routes out there, or in the back of the end zone. Back of the end zone could be really, really big for this guy. Ryan, thanks for checking in, sir. Good to see you. And Fickle really liked him as well. We're seeing a lot of that with Luke Fickle going to Wisconsin now, which I think is a great pickup personally for them. Them kind of losing people, and then with the transition of, I guess, is it Satterfield coming into Cincinnati from Louisville? I think that's how it's happening. And then Braum went to Cincinnati. Satterfield's coming over. I forget all of that stuff that's going on. Doesn't really matter for Auburn stuff. But yeah, Fickle really did like him. All right, let's talk about number 2 from the day. Brian, and I believe I am pronouncing this right. Please correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But Brian Battie. You can see him up there right now on the screen along with Mardner. A probably big surprise for everybody in a lot of ways. And we're going to talk about some of those. Y'all already thinking about what it means in terms of recruiting for this class. We'll get there. Don't get ahead of the sale here. Wait on me to get there. But also a Monday the 9th transfer portal, this time from USF. Now, I saw him come through and I'm like, who's this? Not that, like in a mean way, but didn't know who it was. But then when you started looking into him, you're like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. So at the time, the 9th of the transfers that Auburn has picked up in this cycle. Are they done yet? Ask Trevon Reed. I don't know. If you ask him, he basically always says no. We ask him on social media all the time, and he continues to tell us no. So he would technically be in his final year of eligibility. So he's played, 3 years at USF, which would make him a senior. But in this crazy world of everybody gets a COVID year, transfer portal, he hasn't transferred before. Who knows if he'll stay around another year? When you look at his stats, when you look at his prospects, to me, it kind of looks like someone that's coming for one last go around before he goes to the NFL, because we all know that running backs don't have a big shelf life, and this is going to be used to help him boost there and help us, obviously. All right, timeline for how we got to this point with him. He signed with USF back on December 18th, 2019, enrolled on July 1st of 2020, spent those 3 seasons, and then went to the transfer portal on January 6th. It is January 10th right now. He committed on January 9th. So 3 days is all it took. 3 days is all it took for Auburn to sign him up. Incredible recruiting efforts there. There were other big names that wanted him. Apparently, Colorado was making a push, and he came to Auburn and just said, I've seen everything that I need to see. Another example, and you're going to see this a lot with transfers, of guys being ranked lower in stars and stuff, but earning stars as they leave. He was a 3-star coming out of high school, now considered a 4-star running back from Sarasota, Florida, and Sarasota High, and obviously by way of USF. Absolutely monster pickup for Hugh Freeze in the transfer portal. Not because of there was a need there, but you had to have him, but because of what he just potentially adds to your team. Wasn't he a great return man? Yes, he was. And that is another element of that. Just a real small, speedy guy with a low center of gravity. I saw here his measurables. Let's talk about them. 5'8", 165 pounds. So I immediately thought of Shaun Shivers when I saw a couple clips of him running. I didn't think Shaun Shivers, but I saw a very quick guy. And obviously going to play running back. But what type of running back will he be? His size kind of indicates, a return man, a speed guy out there. I think Jarquez is also a bit of a speed guy. So I think from right now, we don't really have, outside of Sean Jackson, a big bulking running back like Tank. But Jarquez is kind of a good mix of all those. He can play a lot bigger than he is. So this may be your true speed guy that you bring into there. Running back room is stacked, especially if things go. You're jumping ahead. Hold on there. Good return guy on special teams and a catcher out of the backfield. His versatility as a running back is what's going to obviously do well for Auburn, but if he can showcase that well in the Hugh Freeze offense here, it's going to do well for him to get him to the NFL. I like this pickup for both parties, for him and for Auburn, because Brian seems like he's already got the stats to be picked up by a team, whether that means drafted or not. But if he has a good year here with what the NFL likes, these running backs that are versatile, that maybe aren't feature backs, that don't get hit as much because they're used in the passing. Or I know when you catch a pass, you're still hit, but like going through the trenches as opposed to out there on the wings. Storylines for this guy, we've already kind of talked about it. I think he, up until that point, the splash transfer portal guy for Auburn was Demario Tolan. I still haven't figured out how to pronounce that yet. I still think that one, in terms of what it provides for longevity, because he was a 1-year guy at LSU at linebacker too. That's still probably the splash transfer, and a huge surprise for that one too. But this one was just about up there as well. The second of 2 transfers on the day on Monday, but also the 5th of those 5 so far in that 48-hour, 60-hour window of just crazy transfer portal stuff for Hugh Freeze. Implications for the rest of the class coming up in just a second. I keep teasing it. We're going to get there. Hold on to your stuff. Stats for him for his time at USF. Played in 31 games. He had 288 attempts rushing, 1,842 yards rushing, with a humongous junior year of 1,186, a 1,000-yard rusher. He had 10 total touchdowns on the year. His long was 68. His average per attempt was 6.7 in his final year, and average per game is 98.9. So huge yardage stats guy for Auburn. What a pickup this one is in my eyes. If you guys have other thoughts, drop them right now. What does it mean? This is the last section of that part. What does it mean for him? But what does it mean for Auburn and this recruiting class now? Because he stands as the most, unless something else has dropped in the last few minutes, which wouldn't surprise me at the rate Hugh Freeze is going. At the time of his commitment, at the time of this video, he is the 30th commit for this class for the Tigers. And I would assume he's signed. Maybe he's going to wait a little bit. The 12th on the offense and the second running back wise. In terms of what his future is, just like we talked about with Nick Mardner, you're a transfer with a ton of experience, probably looking to make that leap to the NFL after this. You're going to play. Will you start? Probably not, because we know Jarquez Hunter is him, literally him. But you're going to be used a whole lot as a change of pace back, as a return guy, as a pass option out of the field. I like what we got here. But if you just want to kind of have a look at the depth chart, Jarquez Hunter, Damari Alston, who's got a lot of hype around him too, Sean Jackson as your big back, and then Justin Jones that gets forgotten about. Jordan Ingram has left the team in the transfer portal. So really that's your room with that guy. You got 5 running backs, and there are others as well, but those are the ones that scholarships and most prominent ones. So yeah, battleground state for this one out of Florida, the 6th one that we've taken from Florida. We are just killing it in the state of Florida. And we had much more than that at other times in this class too. So we've regained ground and reapplied ourselves in Florida this recruiting cycle. And lastly, let's talk about this thing. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this one because I'm thinking about what we may do this in a bigger discussion tomorrow morning or in a separate video or something like that. But let me bring up the obvious, what everybody talks. Some of y'all have already mentioned it. What does it mean for the rest of this class at this position specifically? You've got one other running back guy in Jeremiah Cobb. A lot of people, he has been the crown jewel and was the crown jewel for the longest time of this class, whether you think Keldrick Falk is that now or whoever. I still consider Jeremiah Cobb. We cannot let this guy go. All indications he's planning to sign with Auburn in a month, but we'll see. Does this change it? We shall see. Obviously, it kind of makes the question intriguing, right? It does. We'll just have to wait and see. To me, in the transfer portal world, in the NIL world, it's much easier to hang on to someone these days when there's some competition because of some other incentives to come in and stay. So with that in mind, I'm going to put a pin in that for now because I know that there's going to be a lot of discussion that whether we do that in a separate video or on another live stream, I want to just put a pin in that discussion for now because there's some reasons I want to give you maybe for worry and for comfort at that time. So forgive me for not going into great detail there, but it is something I at least wanted to mention. Here's what we're going to do for the last part of the show here, as we've done on each of these live streams in the morning. I would love for you to continue posting your comments and questions. Last minute ones here to kind of round out our show about this topic. These two guys, Nick Mardner, Brian Battie, and the offensive transfer portal that we had yesterday. As I go ahead and get those in there and in prepared, as I give you the last minute things to keep aware of for E2C Network. First things I want to remind you of are our next scheduled live streams. Tonight, Auburn versus Ole Miss, late one, 11 p.m. basically is when it's going to go off as soon as the game's over. Don't miss it. You have a lot of options for post-game shows. We're, I think, the original post-game show here on YouTube, at least regular original post-game show for all Auburn big events like that. So please do come over there and watch it with us or participate in the chat after the fact or anything like that. I can go ahead and announce to you that we are getting started on Wednesday nights again, 8 p.m. Eastern time with our Auburn family live streams. Don't miss that as your opportunity to call in and hear your voice on the show or just hang out, chat with all those things. Check out the links in the description. Be a subscriber. Make sure you are subscribed to be part of that subscriber giveaway to win that signed Auburn football prize package. You can be a channel member for $1 a month. You can start at the Booster Club membership for $1 a month or higher for different perks. There's other links there, but just check out all those things. You don't have to do any of that. It's much appreciated for those of you that are able to do that. We just appreciate you being here, smashing that like button, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Any final questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals about this topic, about the transfer portal yesterday, things like that? If the question probably comes up, are we done yet? Kind of already addressed that. Trevon Reed would tell you no. So I'm going to go on that route. But yesterday was a bit surprising. These are two areas I didn't think we had to have someone, but it's nice to add someone, and we did it. And how big were these two things that we picked up here, these two players to provide us opportunities in different areas? A big target in the passing game, a speed, I don't call him scat back, but just a really, versatile running back and return guy. Auburn got better yesterday, and we've been getting better on defense this entire year as a team, but especially defensively the last few days. But this was very surprising, so I'm super excited about it. I appreciate that, Alabama John. We're not necessarily concerned about the numbers, but that would be great in terms of helping keep the lights on here. And I knew this was coming. Where are we with a portal quarterback? Don't know. I don't have inside sources. I hear all the same speculation and rumors and message board things as you guys do. Although I'm not on any message boards, but this scuttlebutt gets around. To me, it is one of those things, as I think I said this yesterday, it's not necessarily that it's a priority or not. If the opportunity makes sense for that player and you jump on it and you make it happen. But to me, that matchup hasn't happened yet. And that's why you haven't seen them happen. We've also got a guy like Robbie Ashford who shows a lot of potential and maybe can have a huge amount of success with Hugh Freeze. So when you ask where are we with a portal quarterback, we really don't know, because it could literally go any other way. But we all didn't see yesterday coming with a running back and a wide receiver. So we will just wait and see. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. It's one of our, Good Morning Auburn shorter form live streams. I hope you enjoyed this and learning about this running back, this wide receiver, and what it means for them and Auburn football. I hope to see you tonight, post-game live stream after the Auburn Ole Miss basketball game. Don't miss it, and we'll chat with you then. So until we talk to you again, my friends, thanks for being here. Smash that like button on the way out. See you later, my friends. War Eagle.